I can be able to see these.
Being a Northwest guy is you're raised in a batting cage, you're raised in an indoor facility, you're taking ground balls off of, you know how to work in limited space.
Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, and I know I'm biased because I'm a Northwest guy, but I will take a Northwest guy over somebody from another area any day of the week because I just think they're tougher. I just think they're tougher guys.
I think that's one of the best things about baseball is it still is a way that you can really develop toughness and develop, loyalty and all those kinds of things that we want out of young men in particular.
Welcome to the Pacific Northwest Fungo Banter Podcast, where we highlight all of the great coaches of the Pacific Northwest. Now, here are your hosts, Eric Sorensen, Jason Jarrett, and Kelly Gow.
Well, welcome back, Pacific Northwest Fungo Banter fans, to our next episode. As we are beyond excited, we're heading back to the state of Oregon as we are joined by Quinn Clair, the head baseball coach at Bend High School. Quinn, thank you so much for taking time to come on the podcast tonight.
Dude, so stoked. Thank you guys. I was telling Jason that I was kind of looking at your guys' lineup and all the people that you had, and I'm like, holy smokes, this is an honor. So really appreciate it.
Oh, man, we appreciate you willing to come on. Our first hard-hitting question right away. What's your favorite fungo?
All right, so my favorite fungo right now was the one that I got last year, is the SSK 37-inch. I do love hitting fungos, and I never let my assistants take that duty away from me. I think it's amazing and a total art. So I feel like I hit a lot of pine cones as a kid off my front lawn and rocks, and I never want to let that go. So I love banging fungos. And I know that Devo Bats is your guys' sponsor. And they actually have tried to get me to get their fungos for a couple years at the coach's clinic. And so this year, that's what we're getting, is the Devo Bat.
Nice.
Yeah.
I am with you. I've always been a prime. I've always really appreciated a great infield outfield. And there was a stretch I hurt my back and I couldn't hit it, and it killed me not being able to hit the inning out.
Depression, probably.
It's awesome. Like, it's the best part of the day.
Oh my gosh. Any nerves that you have as a coach, you get out there and catch a sweet spot on a fungo, backspin a ball to a kid, you're dialed.
Oh yeah, this sets the tone for the day. Well, talk us through your path in baseball. What got you into playing baseball, and then after you got done playing, your coaching career, and then where you are today.
Yeah, cool. Actually, really excited to talk about two people that I had a huge impact on me. But the first one is my dad, and he started coaching a long time ago, and then I was just at the yard with him every single day, and so I got to see all those little things. I got to see him celebrate. I got to see him get fired up, and I listened to, again, another one of your episodes, and Tommy Richards was talking about my dad, Chuck Clair, and how he was a huge impact on him. And it like totally blew me away. But that was kind of my childhood, was just, getting that experience that Tommy was talking about. And I was talking to Jason, but my dad used to tell me these stories about this bulldog that would never quit. Or he'd tell me the story about, like this eagle that was living with chickens, and then, was it going to fly away or was it going to stay with the chickens? and he'd tell me a story about the two dogs within you, and the one that you feed the most is the one that's going to win. So I just grew up with that, but he would always take the story and put it into our family life. So he would use like my uncles and my grandpa as the people in the story. And I was like, wow, we got a cool family. Like this is amazing. And then I ended up reading this book. It was by Frosty Westering, Make the Big Time Where You're At. And all those stories were in that book. So I finally realized, like, okay, he was picking them up in there, but he just is like astute and, always reading. And Tommy mentioned that he really coaches the heart under the jersey. And if I can be more like my dad, that's it. And I do want to talk more about him because he does coach with me. But second person that was a huge influence to me was my head baseball coach at Ben High School. And his name was Brian Crook. And I always think back to him as a coach. Now I'm always thinking about him. And he never, ever gave me any mechanical, I don't think I learned a single mechanical thing from him. Like it was never that. It was always like belief, always like stepping in the box and owning the box, or stepping on the mound and being a dog and never being afraid of anybody. And man, I would run through a brick wall for that guy. If he, if he asked me to commit murder, I probably would also do that. Like he just fired me up, and like more than anybody, other than my dad. But so those two guys, I graduated high school and played baseball at Cuesta Junior College down in California. And then I went to Oregon State after that, and I wasn't playing, but I got asked to coach at Crescent Valley High School. So I coached at Crescent Valley for 3 years and did some Legion stuff. And then after the experience with my high school head coach and my dad, the ultimate was to get back to Ben High and coach the Lava Bears. And I got back in 2012 and became the head coach in 2019. So it's a total dream come true for me, like being back there. As we mentioned earlier, my dad is the pitching coach for me, and he was a 1984 graduate from Ben High. And then I was 2006, my brother was 2010, and my brother is the head GM coach. So getting to be around my family every single day is amazing. We think the same a lot, and then there's some things that we don't. So it's fun to have those conversations. And but the bottom line is we really care about our kids and love coaching. So yeah, I'm going into my 8th year as the head coach at Ben High School, and like I said, it's my dream job. So I love it.
Talk about how those relationships have changed over time, right? Obviously, you play with your dad. You got the dad coach thing and dealing with that, and then you come back and you got the dad assistant coach to now the guy in charge of the how were those transitions, and maybe like what were some of the lessons that you learned of things that worked and didn't work in that process?
Yeah, coaching with my dad. He was like always around my friends. Like my friends always wanted to come over and hang out at the house. And he just was like a total magnet. And I love playing for him like every second. There were some moments where, I was pouting about something or throwing a tantrum, and he would like totally set me straight. And, what I would say is hiring a parent to be a coach is sometimes difficult. And he was amazing. But switching gears, and then now me becoming the head coach and him being my assistant, I'd say ultimately he's just as proud that I'm doing what I'm doing, and he is still doing what he's doing. And so him making those connections with kids and getting our pitching staff where they need to be every single year is amazing. And, I think his greatest strength is making kids overachieve their talent level. I mean, we've had a couple kids with some good arms, throwing mid upper 8s, but a lot of our kids are low 80s, 80. And, my dad's got them doing magical stuff out there. So I feel super fortunate. And then my brother is my best friend. So I get to coach with my best friend every single day. And our conversations are, deeper than anybody else because we're always dissecting the day together. And again, I just so fortunate and blessed to be coaching with my dad and my bro, man. How cool is that? It's sweet.
I'm sure your Christmas gatherings are probably in preparation for the spring season. I could just imagine sitting around the table with you three and dialoguing about the upcoming season and talking about each individual player, and of course probably your mom and your wives and all that kind of stuff sitting there hearing, oh, here we go again.
Yeah, that's for sure. What I'll say about my dad is although he does love baseball and he does love to coach, he loves to fish. And so I have to I'm going to get him. I know it. I know he's going to come back every single year, but I have to he's always like, I think this is it. I'm like, no, dude, you got this 6th grader over here who needs you in 6 years. Like, come on, man. But anyway, it's good talks for sure about baseball stuff.
Listeners, if you're listening tonight, just throw some questions in the chat. We'll throw some at Coach here in a little bit later in the show. But Coach, you kind of talked about how your dad prepped, you as a young man, and talking about the 2-dog and the eagle and those kind of things. How much does that really play into your coaching and how you communicate and coach up your guys now today?
I can remember as a young coach, like brand new, 20, 21 years old, I was telling those same stories to the kids that I was coaching. And we kind of talk about that a little bit, but we've turned it into something else. And I by no means came up with this. I just kind of grabbed it, and it was something that was brought to Ben High back in the early 90s. It originates with the Bible, but obviously we're a public school, so we don't have that in there, but we call it total release. And all those stories about being positive and feeding the pause dog and never quitting and, being your best self is all about what we call total release. And we talk about total release every single day at practice. We have it on the back of our hats. I should have worn mine, but when we have a TR player of the day. And so you guys know that baseball is not a sport that you can go, I'm just going to go a little bit harder and good things are going to happen like that. That rarely happens. And so TR is more of different facets. So are you able to recover from failure quickly? Are you a good teammate? Oh man, I love the teammate stuff and try and cultivate that a lot. Do you have good responses, body language stuff, all those things? And so, you get to the end of the day, and whether it's practice or a game, you got 2 scoreboards. You got the scoreboard of your heart, and you got the scoreboard on the field. And the one that we really care about is the scoreboard of the heart. And so that's what total release is all about. I hope my kids are exhausted at the end of the practice. I want them to be so freaking tired that they, they're students first, but that they can't do their schoolwork. They have to hit the hay after they get some dinner. And what's cool is that it takes away from winning and losing. And so we don't have that distraction. I say we don't, but if you're fully into this, you don't, but they're high school kids. But if you're, locked in total release, your number one thing is the scoreboard of your heart. If you got 9 dudes, 10, 11 bench guys who all have wins on their scoreboard of their heart, it's usually going to line up on the scoreboard on the field. And what's really cool is if it doesn't, you should have been at that game. It was probably a really good one. And so that's kind of our message. And I like the way my dad operates is he just kind of falls right into that mold and talks about all those things again, like coaching the heart. And so, yeah, if I can be more like him and do that, it's a blessing for sure.
Well, and also seeing, those the older guys feeding into the younger guys, and then even thinking about those junior hires that are coming to the game and watching that, right? Live out throughout your spring into your summer. And I don't know if you guys do, camps or any of that kind of stuff, but preaching that message throughout the community, I mean, they see that and they want to be part of something. And everybody wants to be part of something special. And that's the thing is if you can emulate that onto the field of play, you're going to have kids who are I want to go play for this guy for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you talked about seniors, like they're the lifeblood of what we're doing, and I've made some mistakes with some classes that uh, I thought were going to be pretty dang good, and so I'm trying not to make those mistakes anymore. And what I want this class that we have this year is pretty special. A lot of them been playing since their sophomore year of varsity baseball, and so what's cool about that is they have this like consistent message from me that are you going to leave a legacy behind? So these other kids are like, you remember that class? Like, here's what they did. You can always refer back to them in a positive light. And seniors, man, I'm on them. I had one over tonight for dinner, and we're just trying to get them to they're going to get it. They're pretty locked in, so it's going to be a good year.
Love it. What other type of stuff do you kind of integrate with your kind of senior leadership? Do you do any type of leadership groups? With all classes, or how do you kind of mix in that voice of players? I mean, it's awesome to hear that you're having guys over for dinner and that kind of stuff and creating really good bonds. But how else have you integrated the kind of that voice of the team? Apart from the coach's voice.
Yeah. Well, what I would say is that I mentioned that I've made a lot of mistakes. And so a lot of the things that I'm doing are in response to those. I'm being reactionary for sure. There's a lot of things that I'm trying to do. But this kind of came about a couple years ago. We had a little bit of a hazing incident, and it was terrible. And our seniors thought that they could do that. And so just to like step back and think about that mindset of a kid thinking that they're going to bring somebody on board and lead them by treating them poorly was just not a message that I wanted to happen. And so we lead from the front. So our seniors are serving all of our younger kids. Our seniors carry all gear. Our seniors set up practice stuff. Our seniors are we do something called the PK Cup, which is like used to be the Kaiser Cup because we played at Kaiser Stadium or Volcano Stadium, but now it's the PK because we play the state championship at PK Park. And so we got like 6 teams that we put together, and we do something almost every single day where we're competing, and the seniors are leading that stuff, and they're really holding kids accountable to the standards that we're asking them to hold them to. And what I will also say is that I had this unique experience 2023. We had this like really good senior class, and I thought that we were just going to roll, and I kind of just let them do their thing. And it was one of the worst decisions that I ever made. That we got in some big moments throughout the year, and we just I think like 9 of our last 11 games we were winning in the 6th inning or later, and we lost those 9 games. And I think it was because I did not hold them to the leadership standard that was that I would like to do. Then we flip to 2024, and we go from 14 seniors to 1 senior because we have a new school open up over here, and all the kids had left as freshmen. So we had this 1 senior coming through. And the coolest thing ever, like I was in his ear all the time. I just had this connection with him that anytime I asked him to do something, or like, hey, get these kids going, these younger kids going, he was on it. Like he's the best leader we've ever had. And I felt fortunate, but my energy was I was only putting it into 1 kid, so he was able to like command stuff and just he's just a phenomenal leader. His name's Seth Willie. He's at Lynn. But I'm going to take that forever. And with this class, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to meet with them more. And I told them straight up, like, hey, we're your seniors. Like, I want you to leave a lasting mark that like transcends through, every single class coming up behind you. Like you're the standard. And then, you get to next year and you say the same thing to that class, and you try and do things a little bit better. So we're just talking a little bit about like, hey, what does practice look like? how are you serving your teammates? How are you serving those younger kids? How are you showing them how to do things? And we had our first practice this morning, and we practiced. Our first practice was all base running stuff, and so we, the kids show up. They think they're going to play catch and do some hitting, and no, we put our gloves and our bats down. They're base running, and what's cool is I had these seniors. They were in charge of everything. We did a competition, and they either like, "Yep, you got a point," or "No, you didn't get a point," and you could just tell those seniors, "Hey, you coach those kids up," and you just saw them like coaching all those younger kids up as they were doing the drill and the competition, and like they're getting better and getting better and getting better. And so, like I said, I think that them being such a good group and having so much varsity experience that they're going to be the ones that are going to set the tone for the Lava Bears. So anyway, really looking forward to that.
Yeah, Coach, what kind of response? I mean, it's kind of an unusual thing for your seniors to kind of take, all the gear and those kind of things. Most programs say, hey, it's a freshman's job. This is kind of their role. When you implemented that, did you get a kind of a negative response for you guys, or were they like, all right, we're all in, we respect you, we're all good?
You've seen the eye roll before, for sure. I definitely got some of those. I actually took it from a book, and the book was called Legacy. It's about the All Blacks rugby team in Australia or New Zealand, I think New Zealand. And anyway, there's just a lot of good nuggets in there about being leaders and like taking care of little things. And that was one of the things was that their veterans are the ones who are the leaders and take care of all the gear. And man, it's cool. It's cool to have these. Well, actually, here's what I'll say. Sometimes those younger kids are like, yeah, you take the gear, and they start popping off a little bit. And, that's where I have to step in, and I have to tell them like, hey, that's not how we do things around here. Our older guys are going to show you how it's done. And then when you're the older guy, you're going to also do the same thing. And so, yeah, I definitely had some eye rolls at first. My first year as a head coach, I had another pretty strong class, great kids, and they were pretty bought in. So eventually they were like, whatever, coach, we'll do it. And it's kind of grown from there. So yeah, those seniors, man, they're in charge. They serve the rest of the team.
That's I because everything you're speaking is just spot on. And I heard the analogy this winter or fall, whenever last year, about don't be the person that tells someone else to turn the light switch on.
Yeah,
right. And it's awesome to hear, because I think that definitely sets the tone for any successful program, to have that leadership culture and people that take ownership of their own program or their own team as a player, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would also say that's on me too. Like sometimes I find myself getting to the yard and I'm like, oh, just have the kids do it today, and I got to kick myself on that, because if you're not willing to do those things, those kids aren't going to be willing to do that stuff either. So it starts from the top, and so anything that happens or shows up on the field, I am responsible for that. And so sending that message by example is also something that I try to do, man. I work hard for these kids. Our whole coaching staff works. They're amazing. They're great dudes. And so the example set is high, and then we expect that from them too. So
talk about some moments where this has maybe shown up on the field. Like, you've been in this for a few years now. Like, what are some kind of the proud moments of watching, remember your older guy and putting the arm on the shoulder of the younger guy, but like, what are kind of some aha moments you go back and look on that kind of, that the things that you're trying to put in place are starting to show up?
Yeah, I think there's one in particular, that one moment that I think about often. I use it a lot, and I had that senior I was telling you about, 2024 kid, Seth Willie. We were just doing a scrimmage thing, and he had a kid on his team who he made like 4 or 5 mistakes in a row. And at first they were like, hey man, like, keep your head up, here's what you should do there. And then, he's on his like fifth mistake, and it's starting to turn into like body language stuff and effort stuff. And I'm just like feeding the machine. So we're doing a little jug scrimmage, and I'm starting to get to the point where I'm about to say something. And the senior turns around from shortstop and he tells his kid to get off the field and pulls a kid from the dugout to go fill in a space who also had no business being out there. But, he was just saying like, dude, we don't play like that. You got to hustle. You got to get after that ball. You got to make up for your mistakes. And so I think it was really cool. And, I think all that came from me giving him the keys to like feel safe to say that, and maybe not feel like I was going to like, Seth, oh, be nice to that kid, and I don't want to be like that. I want kids to know that they can hold other people accountable. That senior voice, man. I got another story pop in my head, but we had a kid last year, younger kid, makes a mistake on the base paths in a drill in practice, and a senior says, hey, we can't do that. You got to get back on a line drive. And the kid kind of like pops off and to the senior. And I didn't know that I was going to go there with this kid, but I went there. Like I felt real strong about the fact that this kid was like talking back to this senior who was trying to help him out and be a leader. And so again, I want to protect that senior voice, especially when they're talking about the right things. And yeah, we have those moments where like, hey dude, you need to pick somebody up, all those teammate moments. That's part of TR too. So we do spend a lot of time talking about how to be a great teammate. And, but yeah, those two stories in particular, and those are in practice, I'm pretty proud of them, to be honest. So giving those seniors the keys is important.
Yeah. It's always helps out when you start getting everyone on the same page, like those type of things don't happen. Right. Like, and it takes those moments, like you want them to happen. You want some rocking the boat, right, in practice or other things, because if you wait till that stuff shows up when it's competition in spring and whatnot, you don't want to be handling those in the middle of the diamond in a playoff game or a cross rival game or something like that. So as much as having a good culture it doesn't mean everything is roses and sunshine all the time, right? You need some moments to be able to have teachable moments, or to have guys step up and do the right thing or say the right thing. And that's okay, right? Like it's okay to have those things happen as long as it doesn't linger, right? As long as there's not grudges or hold against. Like I'm sure any of those seniors, you say something like that, like end of practice, as long as it's handled right, or maybe even if it's not, like we're going to put our arm around the shoulder and be like, hey, I'm trying to help you here, right? Like just like coaches, just like that. Like I don't think down on you. I'm not trying to make you feel, small as a person, but I think there's so much, and we've talked about this a lot on the show. You see it happen or come up with stuff like this, that everyone now, like kids wise, like they want to be liked, right? They don't want to be the bad guy. They don't want to say something that's going to risk a friendship or people there. Like where when we played, like people spoke a little more freely.
Oh yeah.
And maybe we're old timers and that's just how we talk now. But like, I definitely think it's tough to get through to guys to say like, it's okay to be critical. Like we're all doing this for the greater good, for the right purpose. It's not to make anyone feel bad. And if they do, then maybe they don't belong.
Yeah. You said, dude, I just wrote something down because I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. But, we have our coaches meeting every year, and I ask our coaches like, hey man, if you get after a kid, like that kid can't go home without you having a conversation with that kid.
Mm-hmm.
Again, talking about, hey, we're with you. Like we want the best for you. We love you. We need to be better. And I think I'm doing that with our kids. So if our seniors are getting after a kid or whatever, it might be a junior too. Like we want that. That's a new rule. Let me back up. Not a rule, new standard. You got to go up and you got to make sure that you touch base with that kid. So we're all good. That's awesome. I love it.
That's good.
That's a great one.
Sometimes it just makes sense, right?
Oh yeah.
So you look forward to this year? Like what does Bend High School look like? You know, what's exciting? The listeners, your AD sounded like he might be on the horn tonight. Let's
I don't know if he's
build some confidence in coach right now. Let's talk up the squad for 26.
Yeah, let's go. So we have 10 seniors, and 5 of them have been starting since their sophomore year, since we had a pretty small senior class. And again, just like as sophomores, we lost in the first round to Wilsonville on a 2-1 squeeze bunt. Our pitcher threw a one hitter. I mean, it was pouring down rain. It was just a fantastic game. And so, just going through that whole season of that class was like totally battle tested. And I thought we'd have a better year than we did last year. We lost some arms on the mound. Our number one couldn't throw all year, and then we lost another kid, but we still battled. Man, we had some great moments. And this senior class comes into the season as 10 multi-sport athletes, who some of them playing 3 sports, and they're just competitive, and they want to work hard. And I until today, I've been hands off. Like, I can't really get with the kids. And, just to talk about those seniors again, they keep coming up is, they're reaching out to kids. They're playing long toss. They're hitting. They're just taking charge. And so they're preparing themselves. And, you guys know this. You've been around the game for a long time. It's like, how are you going to be? How many games are you going to win this year? Are you, and you're like,
oh yeah,
oh boy, I've made some predictions where I thought we were going to just roll, and we didn't. And some teams I thought were going to be not good, and we were great. And so we're going to take it. I'm going to give you the
political answer.
Crash Davis right here. We're going to take it one pitch at a time, and we're going to just compete one pitch at a time. That's it. But yeah, am I excited about this group? Yes, for sure.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it'll be good.
That's good, Coach. I want to kind of transition things a little bit with you. What kind of things you implement? I know we kind of talked about this yesterday a little bit, but you kind of have this new. I shouldn't say new. You've kind of had this for quite a few years, but kind of a 2-strike approach scenario, which actually I'm really excited to see you here tonight and kind of discuss about this with you. But always trying to beef up my offense. I know Eric doesn't want to hear that because we're in the same league and we play each other about half a dozen different times.
Oh, I love it.
The start of the season to the end, and Kelly's keeps he's kind of stuck in the middle with both of us. But I think his true heart is crimson and gray or whatever, more, not WSU, but more for Kittitas,
maroon.
Yeah. But we have some good ongoing debate and bets going on throughout the year. But no, Coach, kind of add into that. What was kind of some of those things that you're doing there at Bend?
Well, Kelly was kind of talking about back in the day, like we could do things a little bit differently. And one of the things that I think was different is there was some pride when you got to 2 strikes and being backed into a corner and fighting your way out. Like that was something that we talked about a lot. And so I didn't ever have an issue with 2 strikes, at least in high school. When I got to college, they were way better. But in high school, I didn't really have any issues. And I think I mentioned the other day, we had this group of this class or this team that had 232 strikeouts in 28 games. And I couldn't, when I looked at the stats at the end, I could not believe it. I was just like, is this normal? And I kind of went back and I looked at previous years. I was like, oh, this is bad. And so, we had kids just swinging out of their ass with 2 strikes, just letting it fly. And something inside of me was like, I got to dive into this, and we have to be better. And we have since chunked that down. Last year we had 159 strikeouts. And so we have every year we've gotten better. So the last 2 years, I think we were 174 2 years ago. And then last year we were 159. And, it comes down to two things. It comes down to how good of a teammate are you, and are you willing to sacrifice for your team? And those two messages are like, that's what I want. I want our kids to sacrifice, and I want our kids to be just like phenomenal teammates. And this could go into like also bunting or hit and run or whatever you want to talk about. But yeah, we start every single year off with two things. We start every single year off with strikeouts are a sin, and I kind of back up on that a little bit, and we talk about there's not all created the same, as you guys know, but and then the other thing is our coaches came up with the 2-strike creed. So we say the 2-strike creed at least once a week. And it's just all about being a tough out and being a good team player. And, is that why we're doing better? No, it's not. But it is, I just think it's fun that our kids, say this creed. Anyway, I can send that to you guys at some point. But we have two absolutes with 2-strike hitting, and number one is the kids have to scoot up on the box or on the plate, and then they can't stride, and so there's no striding allowed, and that is a total shock for kids at first. And so this is actually our third year doing that, and again, the senior class is going to be locked in on that. That expectation and way better at it. And so there's that. And what I'll say too is thank goodness you got guys in the pros when they're getting to 2 strikes and they're doing that. You got Bo Bichette going no stride with 2 strikes. You got Bryce Harper going no stride with 2 strikes. And then they have some options that they can do some other things with 2 strikes. But number one is like, if you're getting to 2 strikes, a ball has to get put in play. Like it is everything for your team. You can talk about guys making plays on defense is difficult. But we want to put the ball in play. So I don't know if you guys want me to dive into other things that we're working on or teaching with that. Is that what you guys want?
Oh, absolutely. No, beat it, man. I mean, we're
all
listening ears. We'd love to, learn more.
Yeah. So we start with 2-strike hitting every single day. That's the first thing that they do when we hit. So when we hit, there's always 2 strikes. Anytime we hit, there's some sort of emphasis on the 2 strikes. So sometimes that might be like 2-strike curveballs from a lefty or a righty. You can move that machine up and down, left and right. We got the mini hack and the big hack, so we can move that thing around. And then like if I want a pitch to look good, maybe a guy throws a hanger and we foul it off or something, and the next one he's going to bury that pitch. I can change a wheel speed or turn a wheel speed off and move that pitch around. So we do a lot with that, and then we do a lot with obviously with hitting fastballs. But our philosophy is that we're going to be on time with the fastball to the opposite field. And what I'll say is kids really struggle with that. And I start off telling them that I want you to, like, I'm talking about fouling this ball off at the first base coach if you're a righty. Like, I want you to be so late on this fastball that you're hitting a rod at that first base coach. And obviously then that puts you on time with an off-speed pitch or maybe a little bit out front. So that's kind of our message there. I mean, I tell them if they want to choke up, I don't really care. We play pepper in practice, and I'm like, it's pepper, dude. Like if honestly, if this guy's pretty good with 2 strikes and he's just blowing us away, like it's pepper. Remember how we hit that ball? We're just putting that thing in play. And what I will say too about this 2-strike thing is it's, you got to eliminate the ego. Like you can't have an ego when you get to 2 strikes. Like I don't want you to home run. I want you to put the ball in play for your team. And we actually have a couple times we've gone to, like, I tell them at the beginning, like, are we going to be like big enough to, if this dude on the mound is just shoving, are we going to be big enough to go into a 2-strike approach right from the get-go? So even when we don't have 2 strikes, like, are we going to be able to do that? And we actually did that. we faced Paul Wilson from Lake Ridge a couple years ago. He's a lefty, and it was the most magnificent thing I've ever seen on the mound at a high school level. He was like sitting 97, slider nasty, and our kids, we went right to 2 strikes. Our kids were celebrating foul tips in the dugout. I was like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing today. He struck out 13, I think, in 5 innings, and wow, they got out of there pretty quick. But yeah, anyway, so that's also a moment where we might, think about getting into a 2-strike approach early. Yeah. Anyway, what are you guys doing with 2 strikes? I mean, I'm trying to learn, man. Like, we're doing all the things. If I see something new, like on social media or in the bigs, like I'm taking it because I want to be good with 2 strikes.
I know that with our guys, it's a lot of conversation before we go into our 2-strike talk, early in the season of how we hit. And I believe in a lot of it is mentality and how you think about things. And I know we stole it from somebody, I don't remember who, but got in the habit, and people kind of look at us funny when the guy gets 2 strikes, we hit our helmet, right? We look in the dugout, I got you. Let's do this thing, right? And I think that's such a big thing. Because you think about, like, if you're talking about your guy fouling all the balls off and everybody's celebrating, I don't know what Oregon high school rules are, but we only got so many pitches to throw in a game. And it's exactly. I'd much rather face their 2-3 guys than their number 1 right now. So why can't we just tuck the ego, tuck the pride, and let's do this for the team, because that's ultimately what the goal is here. But I really want to know what Jason does. But we have
you go first. No, you go first.
I think it's a lot of mentality of how we teach things and being aggressive and a lot of competitions. We end practice, we hook the mini hack out in the field and make it kind of hard, and I'll throw candy bars or something on it, and we just have 2-strike approach or some sort of a hitting drill of to try to keep this thing rolling.
You know what I would say about that is 2 strikes is kind of hard to score. I don't like anytime you do something like that, because you got kids fouling balls off or taking pitches and like getting a walk. And so, yeah, again, this like celebrating the right things and battling. But how would you, if you did 2-strike, how would you score that? You think, what would you be doing for that?
For in like a drill you're talking?
Yeah, I'm like
contact base hit. A coach would set the situation beforehand. Where are we at in the game? And then usually it gets pretty chippy sometimes. We're like, oh, that was a base hit, or that wouldn't have been a base hit, or I don't know. We just it's coach's discretion on if whatever the rule was set for that particular drill.
Yeah, bunt maybe, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, today's 2 strikes, 2 outs.
Yeah,
guys sitting at third base, we have to score them, right?
Whatever.
Yeah, or whatever it is, and no, I think that's the parameters of it, and scripting. We like to script a lot of that kind of stuff and what we're doing and how we're doing the situations on the field, 2-strike hitting. It's also kind of fun to set it up in the batting cage, a machine, and we just, all right, last man standing, and you can go to maybe it's 3 or 4 foul balls in a row and a base hit, or it's just you just got to put the ball in play.
Yeah,
and that gets pretty intense too.
Oh, I love it.
Then you had the fact, not to keep talking about this, but then if you really want to get crazy about and work on the mental side of things, you line that batting cage as long as you don't have any holes in it, so no kid wears a ball off the face. You add the verbal, okay, got to be respectful, but say what you want. Get in this guy's head, and the guy hitting, you better be able to handle this thing. And like I said, you got to clarify, be respectful. Do not say something that's going to get us fired. Or you.
Yeah. Oh man, that could go.
I think it's important to score. I mean, that's good you asked that, like, because there's still positives to score out of a baseball negative result, right? Which is baseball is littered with negative results, right? Yeah. So if that's a key cornerstone for you, like celebrating a foul tip or a ball in play or a hard hit, or just swinging, and you can swing the negative too, like a take. A take is a negative a billion or whatever it might be, right? Because we're not going to take strikes for strike 3, which I think is the cardinal sin above all sins, is backwards Ks.
And 3 straight pitches.
3 straight pitches. But yeah, I mean, the best, I mean, we joke about it. And in the college game, like we went back and forth a little bit on approach. Like I think generally we were off the knob. It wasn't no stride. We gave some freedom there, but you know, it was about having a B swing, right? That it's not as big of a takeaway. It's tight and late. It's short, right? It's shortening your swing, or whether that's choking up or dumbing down your stride or your takeaway. Like there's different ways to be shorter with a mindset. But above all else, like how about you hammer the 0-0 fastball and not get to that situation to begin with, right?
That's number 1 on the list of how to avoid strikeouts is be on time with your pitch.
That's the first thing I say when our 2-strike approach. You guys know how you hit really well in 2 strikes. You hit that fastball early and hit it hard.
Yeah.
Or the guy that strikes out and walks to the dugout and his on deck guy goes, "It's okay," you know, and gives him a high five. It's like, it's not okay. You know, like we don't run through life. It's like you failed. You screwed up, man. You did not execute. You had a runner on second and third base, and you did not put him on, across the diamond, you know. So that absolutely kills me for sure.
Have your hit by pitch numbers gone up too? Have you tracked that at all over the course of time of being on the Disc 2K?
Yeah. So there's some stats that I put together after that season that we had a ton of strikeouts. I was like, this is crazy. But one of them was hit by pitch, and we practiced that. I don't know if you guys practice that or not, but we practice with our light flight machine. Have that thing going in there, and they work on rolling and taking that pitch with what we call concrete feet. And you know what I will say, I don't know if they're putting this emphasis up where you guys are at, but like umpires are putting a real emphasis on hit by pitch, where if you're not making an attempt to get out, they are not going to give it to you. And so I don't care about that. Like I make our kids roll. I make our kids keep their feet. And some umpires have given to us, but some umpires are like, nope, you're staying in the box. And so, you know, that lends itself back to our total release thing and controlling what you can control, and you know, not allowing that umpire to take you out of your approach in your game. But yeah, our hit by pitch numbers have gone way up. Our walks have gone way up. And you know, like you mentioned, Eric, we're trying to get that pitch count up, or maybe that was Jason, I can't remember, but we're trying to get that pitch count up on that number 1 and get that dude out of the game. It's 110. like we want him gone. We want to see number 2. So all that dude, that's 2 strikes right there. We do score at bats. I don't know if you guys do this, but we have a quality at bat score. And what's cool is I have numbers back to 2014 that I show to the kids every single year, and I'm like, hey, here's where this person ended up, and here's where you're at. And so they get to see all these former players. It's really cool. But one of the things on there is, you know, if you get to 6+ pitches, it's a +4 regardless of the result. And you know, the only thing is I will say is if you do that and then you end up striking out, it's a -3, so that it would be a +1 for you. But and then if you strike out looking or on 3 straight pitches, it's a -4. Or if you strike out before that 6+ pitch mark, it's a -3. And so there's a lot of ways to score positives, and we do talk about those. So don't think I'm always talking about the negatives, but man, those negative scores really affect that final quality at bat score. And again, just like what is the goal? To get kids to play good baseball. And you know, when they start talking about quality at bats or +4s and trying to get those things, man, good things happen. They're just like doing the right things and celebrating the right things, talking about the right things. So yeah, anyway, that's kind of where that 2-strike approach leads us.
With your quality at bat chart, and we're not going to get away from Jason not answering the question yet, but the quality at bat chart, are you posting that? Are you showing? Are you guys making that visible to everybody? Public?
Yeah. That's public to our kids.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
I don't know if a parent wants to see it, whatever. But I got to be honest, the parents don't really care about that. But what I will say is I do make a lot of my decisions based upon the score of their quality at bat score. And so I do a couple things. And what I'll say is I picked this up from a guy that I coached under. His name was Adam Randall. Dude was just an amazing coach. But the chart has changed a little bit on like how you can score. Like if you hit a walk-off home run, it's a +5, and that's the only +5. But anyway, yeah. But I make decisions on that, and they'll get full season score, and they get league score, and then they get 3-game trend. So after every single game, I take the last game off and I pop the most recent game so it's good for me because I can see like, oh dude, this guy's tanking here. We gotta have a conversation, or like, look at this kid right here. Like hasn't been getting knocks, but he's been having great at bats. So we're gonna keep him rocking. So yeah, I make a lot of my decisions based upon the QAB chart that we have. You guys do stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, not so much. We do similar things like that. We spend a lot of emphasis in conversation. We'll do some different kind of drills, like the 2-strike drills, different things like that. All about knowing your situation. Getting, taking the PA system and cranking it out. Maybe or somebody yelling. Just whatever. Just trying to get that player, that athlete, to clear the mechanisms, to just be seeing him in the pitcher on the mound. And we really work heavily on the mental side of it, because I think that kind of when you kind of hit it earlier in the show, but you talk about reading books, and I think that's the one thing that coaches don't do enough is read. I mean, we're busy people, and I think that, but we're also students too. And I think over the last few years, for me, you listen to more podcasts, or looking for more literature out there, and taking an hour out of your evening and reading is really expanding my knowledge and my understanding. And the thing is that just you have a whole completely different approach when you really start to dive. And I'm a big mental guy, and that's really shown for our guys in those tight situations with those 3-2 counts, 0-2s, and continue to be in motion and not elevating heart rate and those kind of things, because we can see the result, what happens to a lot of people or athletes when you elevate that heart rate, right? And you elevate the heart rate, the blood flow is pumping, the clarity is not clear, and I see it in coaching too, right? We could all vouch for that. You're in the dugout, you got them on the ropes, and they're trekking back and forth. And Eric and I both know a guy that coaches within our league, and I can always tell him when he's on the ropes and he's going to be out of the game. It's just his style of coaching changes, and his approach in the dugout changes. And I think is that it's the little things that add up to be the big things. And I really emphasize, when you miss that fastball, and you kind of put yourself in the hole, you've really now missed a big opportunity. When you don't take advantage on that extended fly ball, or on that, sack bunt and those kind of things, you become an individual, selfish individual becomes a big deal, and I kind of look at life as like, you can nibble at the cake a little bit, but pretty soon you're going to eat the whole cake, and you're going to be about 400 pounds plus, and that's the things that we emphasize is that, don't just continue to, it's a little mistake here, a little bit, it all starts adding up. And then basically it becomes a bigger problem. So, we really emphasize on that, and, put our lot guys into, those stressful 2-strike approaches. And, it can even get into the defense, clocking in how quickly they come off the field and put their gear on, and excessive running and everything, everything's on time, and I know we haven't really been pushed much for it, but, I know in the NWAC, they try to implement that 2-minute rotation, players on and off the field. And we keep getting warned up here by our state officials that, hey, we're going to start implementing this time clock stuff. Well, when you can take control of a game, just like football, right, or basketball, you have full control. And so we take full control right off of that first pitch, and that's coming on and off the field. It's being that first guy into the box right after he throws that final pitch and warm up. That guy's in that box ready to go. You know how intimidating that is for an opponent? It's like, oh man, this guy's ready to go. And instantly hunting fastballs. You know, I mean, that's the big thing is I it's a pet peeve of mine, and my guys know it, is two big things as a coach is watching that guy see a fastball down the middle and he turns to you and he does this. Yep, yeah, we know that's a fastball. And number two is the guy that, you know, throws his hands up like, what are you talking? The ball hit me. You know, it's like no emotion. You know, we teach our guys emotion happens in the clubhouse or right on that after that final out of the season. And that's the only time we can ever show our emotion, because you're ball players, right? And a baller, an athlete, you don't see Steph Curry shoot a game-winning three and he's hooting or hollering, you know. He's just like, yeah, no, I'm good. You know, I knew I was going to do it. And that's really what we preach on our guys. So
do you have any specific books that you've been reading?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, Primal, one is The Mindset of a Warrior 2.0. That's Brad Radcliffe. It's a good one. It's a super legit book. And Primal Intelligence is another one. Is a really good book. It just talks about the uniqueness of every individual and how we perceive life, and how the brain itself is actually greater and smarter than the AI, but we don't utilize it as, you know, individuals, because we standardize everything, you know. And even it goes into our teaching, you know, you as a teacher, we have standardized testing for measurements within our state, right? Well, we don't want standardized thinkers. We don't want standardized ball players. You know, we want creativity. We want them to kind of push the envelope, you know, try something a little bit different, you know, be an athlete, you know, and those kind of things, because that's what, you know, makes you great at what you do, not being like everybody else. And we have a lot of that. And so those are two books right now I'm reading through. It's super impactful for me. And it's just kind of creates your mind to grow and understand, and how you can implement it into your coaching and, you know, how you go out and just be better at what you do.
Yeah, I love it. Always looking for new books. So that's amazing.
Yeah, that's good. So how many books in a year span do you try to typically read?
Well, what I'll say is, since I've been on paternity leave, my daughter, she only sleeps in the car. And so or like in her crib at night, but then naps, I can't get her down. So instead of me being frustrated, like working back and forth to get her down, I just throw her in the car and I listen to books on tape. So I've been listening to a bunch of books. I got a couple John Gordon books. You guys probably have heard of him. He's pretty popular. Okay. But Win in the Locker Room First is the one that I have been listening to recently. And then Grover, Ted, is it Ted? Tim Grover. He was Michael Jordan's trainer, and he has 2 books. There's some really great stuff in there. Not my favorite or very applicable to like high school student athletes. There's just a lot of stuff in there that I would not share with a high school kid. But you know, I mentioned like the positive stuff that my dad used to talk about, and this guy Trevor Moawad, I don't know if you've read him, but he's got this book, It Takes What It Takes, and he you know, his thing is all about neutral thinking and thinking about what you need to do to accomplish something, rather than like being positive, and then talking about how much negativity impacts your life, and more so if you say it out loud. So anyway, that book is amazing. Again, I don't know if kids are fully ready for that. And I say that we do a team book every single year, so I am still looking for our team book this year. But like I said, we did Legacy one year, and then last year we did this book called Pound the Stone, and so it was amazing. It was cool. And did every kid read the book? Probably not. We have like weekly lunch meetings where we, you know, actually we listen to it on tape together, and then they fill stuff out. And we have conversations, but man, some kids really got it. And again, the senior class is pretty locked in on that. So looking forward to the fruits of them reading through those books, but still have not found a book for this year. So I'm open.
Right on. Well, I'll tell you that Primal Intelligence one is pretty solid. It's it's about 300 and so pages, but it's very unique in the sense that the biggest thing why people don't try new things is out of fear. And I think in baseball, we maybe try to. I mean, we are the greatest thieves. Of course, we've talked about this on a lot of our podcasts as coaches. We take things from other people, but the fact that kids in general, just nowadays and age, just don't try to step out of their realm because of the retaliation they get from others around them, or and that's the things that what makes you great, is trying to do different things. And I was just reading a deal the other day is that what made Phil Jackson so great throughout the years of the 90s with the Bulls is what he really emphasized to all his players, to read books. And he would pull every year, it was a different book that he'd pull from, and all his players, it was a mandatory deal that they all had to read. And they had these considered book club conversations, I guess you could say, but they were all on the same page, reading chapter by chapter and discussing that. And I think that just really keeps that cohesion of the team, but also starts to get those kind of that different part of your brain thinking a little bit different than what we all maybe see with our eyes or what we hear, and those kind of things, because literature is so impactful for our growth. And I think you talk about some of the greatest coaches out there or the biggest readers. I mean, I've heard, even some of the politicians you read, you hear guys will read 3 to 4 books a month, and it's just like, I've always heard that. And I always thought, that'd be cool, but really, could I get myself to read a book? I mean, I've read books in the past because I had to for school, but making that time and over the last few years, just being able to make the time to do that is really, man, it's just changed me as a coach and get me to think a little bit different. And now thinking about, okay, how do I get this into my guys, and say, hey, I know you have a lot of schoolwork and other things, but this is just one more thing I think will help us, be that much better as a team.
I have, but all the books that we've done so far, I have found like a guide workbook for both of those. And so I just have one of my aides in my class type that out.
That's cool.
I'll like buy one and then they'll type it out and and then I'll give it to the kids. But yeah, anytime you get a kid writing and reflecting, I just think you're just building between the ears, man. It's all about character and them being good citizens first and baseball is second. And, if those things that you're teaching that help them have good character, are helping them also win and be good baseball players, man, you got it going on. That's really sweet.
Absolutely. That's good. That's solid.
Love that. Yeah, let's transition. I would backtrack a little bit here. We got sidetracked, got out of conversation. So let's take it back to 2K hitting. Jason, share some thoughts about, what you do with your boys at Tri-Cities Prep and 2K hitting. It's not fair that we don't each get to talk a little bit here. It's, the podcast, we've done it long enough. We want to have equal voice and equal participation. And
Sure.
We generally do a really good job at that. And, we talk about, being a good team member. We've talked about it tonight. And as part of that team, I'd really like you to share and just be a part of things for us.
Let's go.
Oh man, everybody wants your secret weapon, and it's like the perfect ingredient.
I'll mute my headset. I won't hear a word you say.
Oh my goodness, I think
someone else is already doing it.
No, I'm sure there is. It's just this is just been super impactful for me, and it's kind of a whole nother hour episode, and obviously it's really legit, and in the sense that it really, the emphasis is just keeping your guys in rhythm, right? And that's the key, is everything that you do is a rhythm. You think about guys like Stephen Curry, Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, all the greats. What was the one thing that made them so good? They didn't elevate themselves, right? They didn't change the situation because there was, 1.2 seconds left on the scoreboard, or they're coming into the 18th hole, down by 1 stroke. Nothing changed. Their breathing stayed the same. Their thought stayed the same. They didn't get into the negative, like Quinn, you kind of talked about that negative, that fearful thought process. Everything is exceptionally well, right? Everything is a positive, and really the key is it's kind of like I always use the emphasis of what about Bob, right? The old Bill Murray, he's in the mirror talking about how wonderful he is, how beautiful he is, right? And these kind of things is just reassuring his place in life. And I think that as people, you kind of have to have self-talk, and in order to implement that into a routine is that you have to continue. It's a practice, a daily practice. It's literally changing completely the way you look at the world. And that's really the biggest thing is that we tell our guys is like how don't look at like everybody else, like be an athlete, like know that you're the best. And I think that's just you talk about and you read about these guys, and I mean that's where it gets down to. You dive into Michael Jordan never thought for once that he sucked. He literally knew that he was the dude, even to the point when he was younger. I mean, and that thought process never changed. And Tom Brady was the same way. He comes in as a backup, and the thing is that he even on this, he would tell, I think I was watching a thing with him and he was talking about when he was on the sideline, I can't remember who was his starter there at Michigan in front of him, but he knew that he was better than him. He literally, he was like, I'm way better than this guy. This guy is not that good, And so having that continuing mindset, and I'm sure, Tom is not going to practice and going, oh yeah, I'll hopefully I hope for my shot. I hope for an opportunity, and they're getting after it. And so, it's a continuous training of that side of it, and you can do a lot of great drills, and we do a lot of different things that are great, with max BP machines to double machines to the junior hacks to, just all different things that you can do. But if you can't have the mind right, it's going to be a real struggle. And I mean, I don't know. I just see this throughout life. You could see, people that have it, and then there's just people that wish they had it and they just can't figure that out, and I think you really literally, it's like the conversation, like you're talking about, Quinn, the two dogs, the eagle, all those scenarios of that I mean, I'm sure your dad talked to you, like, you're telling these stories. I could just imagine your ongoing conversation was like almost nightly, probably from your dad.
Yeah.
And those kind of things. And it's the same things what I do with my kids is these conversations and, reading a page or so out of the, and this is stuff it goes when my kids were little, and just telling them and saying, hey, yeah, be your own person. It's okay if someone's going to think this or think that. Don't worry about, just buy into the process. You don't have to be a superstar today. We're not going out and winning world championships. You're not signing a multi-year contract today. It's gonna take time. And that's the thing is everybody's impatient. They all want the now, they all want the go. And so they're trying to figure out what's the next, potion or the next serum, whatever it is they need to drink or take that all of a sudden they're going to win a championship. It's that continuation. And I always tell every coach out there that if you stay true to it, don't get off the path, just continue to add more and more and more, you're going to get over to the top. And then once your guys get it, man, it's like magic in motion, man. It's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah. I mean, I guess just to add to that, those kids that are, my dad's speaking like that to me all the time. Like I can remember maybe one time on the baseball field where I was afraid of something back in the day, but it was just like, you're never afraid of anything, but it just got me thinking, like, as a coach, you're pouring into these kids this message, and, the kids that also have a parent pouring into them that way, I mean, they're picking it up fast. And who knows what these kids are hearing from their parents. I mean, we probably have a list of things that we know that they're hearing, but those kids, man, they take a really long time to start figuring it out and having that mental talk that, you're talking about. So I think that's awesome, Coach. Good job.
I know that one of the things that it was probably one of the more rewarding things that we saw, and it was talking, I mean, it's just mental game of things and the mechanic side of things and two-strike approach, and we can preach that all day. And I think we all are pretty much similar in how we talk about, breaking it down and approach and everything. But I think we saw a big difference when we really started. We always talked about it, but when the kids actually started doing what we talked about when it came to heads up baseball in the mental game. And first off, I've always been a big believer in a routine, and that creates a comfortability in the batter's box at all times. And I think if guys actually truly did that, but like it was a story. It was pretty cool because it was the week of we had the big. I think the best time to do heads up baseball is when the weather's horrible outside. So let's go to the classroom. For us, it's the win. And we had to talk about it, and I didn't really want to go to the gym that day. It was April, and I said, let's go to the classroom and pull out the book. And we talked about our breath, right? Resetting, having a focal point. And we had a kid come up, he 8-9 hitter. He took fastball down the middle, and then and then he swung at a pitch that probably bounced twice before it got there. And you could see him and the guy a week earlier would have just blown up internally a little bit. But I saw him physically like do the whole shoulder up, breathe. Dude gets in the box. It is completely different. Pokes a 2-strike, hits a curveball through the 4-hole for a base hit. And I was like, let's go. Right. It was, I think that's a lot of it. And I think even more nowadays, we have to, not to sound like get off my lawn guy, but like we really need to communicate to the players why. If you do this, this is what the goal is going to be. And, like it's the simple things of this, the physical of telling your teammates, I got you, or it's it mentally put you in a spot because when stuff hits the fan, who's going to be there for you in the batter's box? It's probably the second most lonely place in the world in a baseball game besides the pitching rubber. So that's,
I love it.
But that was a huge step for us.
And I think another thing to add to that too is, head coaches or any coach can be overreactive, right? And I think when you see coaches do that, and it was kind of my old self, I used to be very overreactive. There's a high expectation, I'm screaming and yelling, heart rate's elevated, my head's all rushing with blood, and all of a sudden I get a headache after doing it. But you think about, I really wanted to win, but the other thing too is that reaction of fear, right? Like I can't handle myself if we walk off this field with a loss today, and I think that's the key is like I've learned over the last few years is like I've really toned it down to the point where like, hey, you guys, there's a moment where, I'll maybe get on a guy like, hey, expect better. But I think you see coaches that just blow up on their team and all of a sudden, some teams will respond well to that, but then there's other guys that, don't respond very well and they'll completely shut down. And then all of a sudden, you have a 1-2 run ball game and then you're up on that team by 6 or 7, 8 runs, that's the other thing is just coaches need to understand those players feed off your emotions. They see, like, oh, coach ain't talking much, or coach always excited today, or, coach was behind the dugout smoking a heater, before the game, whatever it may be, but those kind of things.
Mid-game.
Mid-game. But like players pick up on that, and they feel your nerves and they feel the stress. They're going to be the same way, man. You could say, well, you got this, and just you're short and you're, maybe your hands twitching as you hand the ball to the pitcher to close it out, and a tied ball game in the semifinal game, or you can just go out there and you go, hey, we just got to do our job. Let's get it done, and your guys, if you train them well throughout their practices, like you're saying, coach, make it difficult, man, the game's going to be easy. That's going to be the easy part. They ain't going to care what the score is. They're going to get this. They got it, So
yeah, I love it. I try not to get after my kids based upon wins and losses. I have been there and have done that. And, it just is so uncontrollable, man. Like you could play the best baseball and lose. And so again, like, what am I going to get after? If a kid has bad body language, or as a team, we have bad body language, like it's going down like that's unacceptable. If we got, bad effort or bad teammates, like, I'm going there. But wins and losses, man, I try not to get after our kids with stuff like that. It's counter the message that we're trying to send about, being your best self and scoreboard of your heart. So we stay away from that. But I used to do that a lot.
Oh yeah. It's almost like a stepping stone of being a head coach, being the young guy, blowing up a little bit. But I'm with you. I try not to do that. And if any of our guys are listening, they've seen some of my big blow-ups lately. And it wasn't because of
yeah, someone's writing in the chat right now. Yeah, right, Coach.
Yeah, right there, son of a. Let's go into some listener questions. We have a few here. We'll pop in for you. I'm excited about it. We got our first Bat Boy. Go Lava Bears. This is Clayton. I can't wait to be your Bat Boy this year.
Let's go.
That's awesome.
His brother is a senior. He's one of those sophomore kids that has been playing for 3 years. And Clayton's been our Bat Boy for a long time. Caden was our Bat Boy for, since he could basically walk. So again, like, cool connections. Love that about the sport. And love you too, Clayton.
That is phenomenal. All right, we got Coach Clair. We know you're also a football guy. What made you decide on baseball over football at the next level? And are you glad you did so? Do you ever look back and wish you'd gone D3 and played both?
Okay. That's a crazy question. But yeah, I am football, baseball. I just love baseball. I just like it better. I coached football for 12 years, and I just, since having kids, I've stepped away. But I don't really know why. I think I was always choosing baseball, and then I just had a good senior year, and then you're like, okay, maybe, but not really. Once baseball spring came around, it was like, oh, dude, no way, we're playing baseball. And yeah, but I'm a huge proponent of multi-sport kids. Like, we want every single one of our players to play multi-sports. I don't know how you guys operate, but I actually have only had one baseball-only kid that I can think of that like literally got to his reach his potential, with us, and that was Will Goodman last year. And so other than that, like, they're kind of hard to coach, man. They don't have a lot of experiences with teammates and failure and competition. And so we make our kids do that. So yeah, that was kind of off the question, but anyway, I love baseball, so that's why I chose it.
That's a great. And your knees feel better when you're older.
There you go. They're still hurting right now, but they're okay. They're good.
Almost not all the time. I know. We had a couple of the names you threw out before we became recording. We had one of them comment. Ricky Rodriguez. Great stuff, Coach Q. Leads, creates, and fosters a great culture with being very intentional. While being very intentional.
I thought he was gonna ask a really tough question. I don't know what it would be, but
it's not too late. It's not too late.
Come on, Ricky. That's awesome that he's listening. I love it.
Absolutely. Well, we like I said earlier, man, I'm so happy that you were able to pop on with us tonight and thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, because great stuff coming out of Bend right now.
Yeah, thank you guys so much, and super nice to meet you. Feel really honored. I sent the link to my mom. She's watching, so just, I think it's so cool what you guys are doing. I was telling Jason I was like hunting for something like this, like not actively, but looking, and he sends me this, and I'm like, look at all this stuff here. And so I've just been listening to it and taking stuff. So you guys are awesome. Thanks for what you're doing.
Appreciate that. Best kept secret in the Northwest. So
yes.
Unfortunately. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Coach, and stick on here for a second. And we appreciate all our listeners, and thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.